Hi, everybody. Hey, I'm going to be kind of looking at my monitor, but I know there's a few people out there. I'm going to go to the live chat just a moment so I can kind of see who's out there. I think I saw Jill and Sue and Donna and some other people. So let me go say hello to you all. Give me 1 second here and let me know if you can see me okay. Give me 1 second here and let me. So, hi, Gail. Thanks. Can you guys hear me? Oh, I got 2 things going. Hold on. Let me know if you can hear me. Can you hear me? Okay, great. Great. Yay! Thank you, Jill. You're so sweet. Okay, so I got the live chat going, but I got to tell you, it's in another window, so I'm going to scooch back and forth. And so there might be a little bit of delay as I do that. But hi, everybody. I'm so thrilled that you're here. Hi, Pam. Hi, Teresa. Susan. Glad that you're Wendy. I see that you're all here. Randy, that's fantastic. So thanks you guys for joining. Okay, so the project that we're going to do, I posted, and this was, those of you that are in the Facebook group know that we do some little polls to decide what we're going to, what project we're going to do. And so we decided that we were going to do, let me see if I can get this in the field, this coffee cup, which is really a really simple design. And I hope that it's one that we can all, there, I think you might can see it, that you can all follow along with. And it's a really pretty, I liked these cups that I just found at the Dollar Tree. So I was thrilled to be able to find something like that that I could dot on. And they're kind of squarish, so it's a nice type of cup. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. And I'm going to go ahead and put you down to the table. So give me 1 sec here while I get us reoriented. And we'll go ahead and get started painting. Okay. Let's see if I can get a good angle here. Okay, so here's the basic design. And as I mentioned, this is a square cup. So I thought having this this little border here was kind of nice. I don't see a lot of coffee cup designs with the border. So if you want to do something like that, if your cup has a natural, like this one has some, it's got actually 3 colors, this kind of brown and then a black line and then the blue. It has a natural border there, but you can decide if you want to use the border or not. And then you can see that it's really pretty simple design here. It's really just following along here. So this is what we're going to go ahead and do. Let's go ahead and get started, everybody. Who's actually going to be painting along? Let me see who's actually going to be dotting and painting. Oh, Teresa, you're just going to kind of follow along, huh? So who else is painting? Give me a little chat that you're going to actually be painting. Oh, good, Patty. Hey, Jill. Good, Wendy, Sue. Great. Donna. Okay, that's brilliant. So let's go ahead and get started, you guys. Let me go back to my screen here. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I am using these multi-surface paints and then also the DecoArt gloss enamels. Both of these can be cured in the oven, and so you can make them dishwasher safe. And I've been really pleased with how these actually work out. And it says here for the multi-surface, allow to dry for 4 days. And then I don't know if it's the same for, 4 days for both. So they're basically the same. 4 days to dry, and then you can cure them in the oven. And it says set temperature to 325. You put these in a cool oven. You start with a cool oven. Don't start it with a hot. And then bake it for 30 minutes and then let it cool, open the door, let it cool down all the way down. And I think that's really important because we could crack the ceramic or glass if we're doing that, if we don't follow the cool down procedure. And then it should be ready to go and to work in the dishwasher. And I've had really good luck. Now this one, I haven't put through the dishwasher or the curing yet. So I'll maybe post something to let you know how that works. But I've done many a wine glass. That shouldn't be indicative to you that I drink more wine than coffee, but might be true. Um, and so the wine glasses work perfectly, and they're just beautiful. They come out of the dishwasher beautifully. So I would expect this to do exactly the same. So let's get our cup going, and then also start painting. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to clean this with some alcohol. And we're going to take any oils from our fingers or anything like that that's clean. Just make sure that the glass is really, or the surface is really clean. And the alcohol, of course, dries really quickly, so we'll be able to do that. And I may have to clean the top again as we start to dot, because we're going to start with the center design, the mandala first, and then we'll move into doing the border. All right, so that's pretty good. Let's get that cleaned up, put away. All right. So with this particular design, I usually use a stencil or something like that to find the center, but for this coffee cup design, I didn't feel like I needed to do that because it's, number one, it's a pretty small area, right? So I don't have a lot of surface to go wrong with. So I think I can get the center of this okay. And the main thing that I want to do, because I put this border on, and I'm actually going to put that on last, I need to be sure to drop my design down a little bit below. I need to give myself space, in other words, for this border. The other thing about these paints, even though they're non-toxic, it does say that you don't really want to be, touching them with your lips or whatever. So I have dropped the border down so that you could drink out of it. And then I need to drop this down a little bit more to give myself space here. So I'm just using a Sharpie. And I'm just going to go center, and I'm going to kind of go down, to where I think this is kind of just eyeballing it. And that's as much, I don't know that you can see it, but that's about as much as I'm actually going to put on this. And let me just test against my original one. Yeah, that looks about the same. I'm not going to put any more marking on it than that. I'm just going to go ahead and get that much of it done. And then I'll go ahead and get some paints out. So let me talk about the tools a little bit, because I'm just going to use a few tools. And as you guys know, I use the crochet hooks. I have a lot of tools, but these I find, I don't know, for some reason I gravitate to them. And I tend to use these. So we're only going to use just a few sizes. I'm using the L11 8mm, the K10 0.5 6.5 millimeter, the G6 4mm, and then I will use my dotting tools. And primarily I'm using sort of the smaller end, at least to get started, the smaller ones. I'll start really with this little pink one here, because this is the smallest one in my set. And as you know, all our sets are, they're likely to be different. So, just find a size that you think is going to work. But I'm going to start and stick primarily, I think, with the smaller sizes. All right, get a tray, a palette here. One thing I see that some people maybe put out all of their paint at the same time. I generally don't do that. I don't know if I'm kind of, I don't know, thrifty or stingy or whatever, but I like to just put a little bit out. So I don't even put all my colors out. I just put, the ones that I'm using first, and then I just fill in with the rest, because the paint just dries out. This acrylic paint dries out so fast. I like the colors that we're using in this particular design. It's got that dark blue background. They had, of course, different colors. It's got the dark blue background. And so these are pretty colors. They're not so bold, but they kind of have maybe a fall look to me. So I think that's going to work out really great. So I'm starting off with coffee bean, or sort of a chocolatey color. It's actually a nice chocolate color. I'm going to put this in. And then I'm going to use the brown sugar to go around. Now, I put in my instructions, the natural buff, and I'm not sure I actually ended up using it, to tell you the truth, when I look at this, so I'm sorry about that, but I'm gonna use the brown sugar, which is this sort of tan. It's a sort of lighter chocolate. Now, I saw somebody was having trouble finding one of the colors, and of course we could mix these, right? We could mix the brown and a little white or tan, a lighter color or something like that to get the color that we're looking for. So I'm going to start with the L11 8mm, and I'm just going to get my center dot down. And again, now I want you to notice, Pam, I think you were asking this question about these paints. So I think these multi-surface paints seem to me to be a little bit thicker than, and certainly the gloss enamels are, than the regular acrylics. I don't know if other people have found that, but these are a little bit thicker. Can you kind of see that? I don't know if you can see that. It kind of forms a little bit of a peak. Usually I get more of a button. This is a little bit of a peak, but as it settles on the tool, it loses its peak, so it's a little more fluid. And so I just put about that much paint on it. I don't put a whole lot on, but I do have enough to cover the end of my tool. And then I'm just going to dot straight down. And that's our center dot. All right, and then I'm going to go around 2 rows with the brown sugar. And I'm going to use my smaller tool here. And again, I don't have any grid marks on here because I feel like I can, I can manage this a little bit. So I'm going to do this is actually going to be 12 around, I think. Let me count that. It's actually 16. So how I'm going to do this is I'm going to put my cross on, how we do. And that's actually a little small. I think I'll go to the next size. And then I go do the cross. I go down. And then I've just got my cross there. Can you see that okay? And that's my 4. And then I'm going to do 3 in between to get the 16. And then I'll just move my cup around as I need to keep going. This one was a little, the shape of this was a little bit awkward. Let me put a little more on this one. This design is really simple, so I think we're going to be able to follow along okay. Okay, that's the center in the first row. And then again, we always are cleaning off fairly. I think maybe, I wonder if, can you guys see that okay? I want you to be able to maybe be taking a look at that as we're going through. I don't know if that's helpful or not. One of the things I was thinking about as I was going through and doing this project, now we're going to do our second row and we're just going to go right in between. A lot of people struggle, including myself, with color and choosing color. And there are some websites that I like to go to. Of course, you can just search, do general Google search or whatever to find color inspiration, or Pinterest or something like that. But there are a couple of sites that I like that I go to when I'm looking for inspiration. I like to go to colorpalettes.net, and when I actually can do the description, I'll put that in the link there. But I go to colorpalettes.net and then also Design Seeds. And you can search by color, you can search by theme, by season, things like that. And it'll give you a lot of really fantastic ideas for how to put some color together. And a lot of them are based on a photo. I think many of you have maybe seen that, but they're based on a photo. So if you like the colors, and generally the colors in the photo, then you're going to like how they end up in your piece. Okay, so that's our second row. And now we're going to move out and we're going to do this next row, and we're going to move up a size in tool. We're going to, or actually, it's not the L11. I think it's the K10. We're going to use the K10.5 6.5 millimeter, and we're going to put 8 dots. So, and we're using the coffee bean again. This is the brown. So we're going to just do our cross again, but we're going to put 8. I really like this chocolatey color. It's really nice. Okay, and that's how we're looking so far. I'm going to go over to the chat for just a moment and see how everybody's doing and how you're progressing in your piece. How's everybody doing? Those of you that are painting along. Can you see okay? Jill's got a big smile. So, okay, good. So it seems to be working out all right. Okay, well, let's keep going. Okay, so the next thing I've done is I've taken the green. So I'm going to put out this next color, and this is the turf green. And again, because this is a really small, kind of tight space, I'm just going to keep using the smaller tools here to go around. And we're going to just walk the dots around each one of these brown dots that we just put down. Now, when we're walking the dots, I don't know how you all do it, but I don't start up here, right? I start down at the bottom and kind of work my way around. Get enough paint on there. And go around so I can get, and I'll do it. When I go to the other side, I drop some more paint right in the middle. And the only reason I'm doing that is to transfer it. So I hopefully get a little more consistency on each side. And then we'll keep rotating it around, and then I'm just trying to find the center of each one of these. And I'm just lining up to try to find that, make sure I'm sort of close to center as I can be. One thing I was doing, I don't know, I'm sometimes having a little trouble steadying the glass, so I just took one of my paint bottles and I'm just going to stick it under there to rest it, or have something else that I can rest it on. So was someone, I think in one of my exchanges, maybe on another video or something, was somebody having trouble with walking the dots? I don't remember if that was who that was that might have been having some struggle with that. Um, I think it takes a little bit of practice, not a whole lot, but I think it takes a little bit of practice just to get used to how the paint responds and how far the paint will go. But I'm getting probably, what, 6 or 7 dots maybe around, and I think that's really turning out nicely. All right, the next color I'm gonna move to is the bright orange. Just get my tool cleaned off, and I'm gonna use the bright orange. I think I also saw something where somebody was seeing bubbles in their paint. You can see that I pretty shake mine up pretty good, but I get bubbles in my paint sometimes too, and I just tap my palette to kind of release those bubbles. And then I'm sort of watching as I paint. I'm watching a little bit to make sure if I see bubbles kind of creeping up that I'm getting them with the, like, smaller end of my tool and just kind of making sure that I pop them, because once it dries in the paint, it'll leave a hole, and we don't necessarily want to see that. All right, I'm gonna go around now with the bright orange and just, I won't be able to get all the way around because you can see that these are close here, but I'll be able to put a little cap on them here. Same thing. I'm just adding that next element in the next color. This was a fun idea to do a cup. I think we had several other ideas on there to do. Maybe a pumpkin was one of them. I'm gonna be doing some fall projects because I really got well, fall is what, starting on the 22nd of September, 21st or 22nd? So I've got some fall projects in mind too. I didn't transfer quite as much paint as I would like, so I'm gonna go back over that. You know, I think a couple of you have commented on how fast the Facebook group is growing. We are adding a lot of new members all the time. And I really like seeing everybody's artwork that's being posted. We've got some really great artists that are in the group and really inspirational. It's so cool to see everybody's different style and what they like and how they interpret and create the artwork that they love. I think that's really neat. I like to see that. Okay, so we've added now the orange. It's starting to really take shape. And now we're going to go in with um, the um, the Tuscan Red. But before I do that, I'm actually going to add, I don't know that you can see it here in this design. Let me see if I can show that to you. But do you see that there's some little blue dots here? I don't know. Can you see that? There's these little blue dots here. So I'm going to actually put those in, and then I'm going to cap it with the Tuscan Red. So let me get some of this blue. It's the true blue. And we'll just use a little bit of that. And I'm going to use my larger nail daughter, the larger end, the largest that I have. And I'm just going to put two little dots there. So let me see. I'll do it this way and hope that you can see it. So I'm going to go right in between here, and I'm just going to go up a little way. I'm just kind of gauging it, and I'm going to go 1, 2. And I'll do that all the way around. 1, 2. This blue turned out really pretty on the brown and also on this kind of more navy sort of background, cobalt. Maybe that's more cobalt blue. Okay, so I've got my blue. That really kind of shows up nicely on this screen from what I can see. All right, now I'm going to take this Tuscan Red, which is, when it dries, it's more, I don't know, it actually is kind of, it's not like a real bright lipsticky type red. It's a little more, um, I don't know, it dries a little bit darker. Um, Peel off a little dry point on the cap there. All right, and I'm still staying with the smaller tool, smaller nail daughter. And I'm just going to put another row. Need a little bit more paint there. And then I'm just going up to the blue there, kind of putting a little, almost like a little garland. And I'm on my last one. And then I'm going to stop. I'm going to take a pause. I'm going to go over to the chat. I saw in the comments that it might be nice to just pause every now and again to let people catch up. There. That's looking nice. Get my paint off. And I'm going to go over to the chat then and see how everybody's doing. I have to trade out my glasses, you guys. I don't know if any of you, but I have at least 6 different ways, 6 different pairs of glasses I have to use for different reasons here. So how are you guys keeping up okay? Everybody following along? Hi, Zen Mama. I left the sticker on the bottom of this. I should have taken it off before I... Yeah, I like the color combination in this one too. I thought it was really pretty on this deep blue. All right, let's go back to dotting. So let me show you where we're at. So we've just completed this centerpiece here. And now we're going to go outwards with another brown. And I'll be using the, I think I used the 11 again on this. Let me just make sure. Yeah, it looks like I used the 11. Okay, so we're going to go out and we're going to do that next row to get started on this section. Okay, and if you need to refresh your paint, take a look at your paint and see how it's going. Mine's getting a little bit sticky. I think it's still okay, but I'm gonna maybe put some more paint on top of that in just a minute here. Let me see how it goes. Okay, and then it's just dropping this dot right above those blue ones that we just put down. There, just like that. And we'll go ahead and put 8 of those around. And if you have to redot it, if your paint, doesn't if you need to drop a little more paint on there, don't be afraid to do that if you need to. There, that's better. This was an interesting shaped cup, but it made it a little bit, because it is the square shape. As we get around to this section, um, it's a little bit more, a little trickier, I guess. There. All right. Now I've got that next row on. And then we're going to repeat this. We're going to go with the green again. Now I'm going to move up in the size of tool that I'm going to use, because this is a little larger element. So I'm going to move up. For me, it's a blue one, and it's just, I don't know if you can see how big that is. It's not the largest, but it's maybe the second or third one down. And we'll just do again, we're repeating the same pattern again. This is really a simple pattern, but I think the colors are what really makes it, of course. The colors make it stand out. So we'll just go around, we'll walk the dots around with the green. And we line it up, of course. It's really looking pretty. I was thinking that maybe one of the group members would like to kind of facilitate the next live. Maybe you have a certain project you'd like to do, or colors that you want to challenge us on, or something like that. That would be fun to hear. What might be fun for the next lives. This is of course the only second one I've done. I did a couple of lives back a few years ago with a friend of mine, when we were doing my first real craft show, and we did a live on. She helped, get us prepared. But these are the first 2 project ones I've done. I really enjoyed them. I think they're fun. Okay, that's how that's looking. All right, and now we're gonna go with the orange. I'm not gonna change the size of the tool. I actually think I'm starting to get a little bit close here, so we might have to adjust a little bit. You know, every time, at least for me, I dot, it's a little bit different. Just I don't know how my hand performs that particular moment. So we'll see how we go and what size we need to use to do that border. I'm just going around with the bright orange. And just a couple more with this color, and then we'll move back into the Tuscan Red. Okay, isn't that beautiful? I just love that. I think my design is might be spreading out more than it did on the first one. Yeah, a little bit. Let me go check the chat and see how everybody's doing. Anyone have any questions? I see somebody thought that this wouldn't be a very challenging project. It's really pretty simple pattern. I think it is. You know, I wanted it to be accessible for everybody, you know, to be able to do it. And I think just think if you had a set of these, how just absolutely beautiful that would be. I would love to give a gift like this with a set of hand painted coffee cups. I just think that would be just so gorgeous. Oh, look at that. I just think that's beautiful. And what a fantastic, I know my mom, for example, my mom would love to get something like that. Okay, let's go back and we're going to put the Tuscan Red on. And I'm not changing out the tool. I'm just going to use the same size and go in with the Tuscan Red. Now, if your red's it's been sitting there a little while, look, mine still looks good, but don't forget if you need to feel like you need to refresh that, just go ahead and do that. And we'll go around, just walk those dots. And this is where I was saying this, the shape of this cup makes it a little bit more challenging. And we're on the last one. Okay. So that's the the main part of our design. That's the mandala piece. And there's another little component here where I have put blue dots here and then kind of radiated those, walked the dots out a little bit there for the little spikes. So we're going to go ahead and do that. And then we're going to go ahead and put the border on. So let's get some of that blue paint. And I use the, this is the G6 4mm. And I'm going to go in kind of close here in this sort of the gap here. And just drop my blue in. That blue takes on a really electric look on this cobalt blue background. Okay, it's pretty. You know, one thing I wanted to show you here, because I'm noticing I didn't see it on the first one that I did, although I mean I can see it now, but maybe because this one's a little bit larger. I can see some space. We're going to walk our dots out this way to kind of make a spike, but I can see some space on some of these. I don't know if you can see it like right in there. When you're looking at your final design and you kind of step back from it, you may want to go add, you know, some little extra dots there to fill in some of that space as you look at it if you think, you know, it needs a little something extra. I'm not going to do that right now, but I am looking at it and wondering if I might want to fill in some of that space. I'll put out a little bit more paint. And then I'm going to walk the dot with the largest nail dotter. Just walk out 3 on each one of these to make that spike. Now, I'm not going to walk it on the top one because I'm going to have my border up there. So I'm just going to walk it on the 7 that are around. Let me start here. And we're just going to drop 3. Just like that. And of course, if you have some elements that you want to add, you know, I noticed after the last one, people were posting, they just used different colors or maybe added their own little spin and variation. And it was so beautiful and great to see the difference, you know, how everyone puts their own style, their own stamp, their creative stamp on the projects that they do. It was just so fun to see all the differences. There. Oh, I love the way that looks. All right, now we're going to put our border on. And this is again where I will confess to you that when I did my test one, I actually put the border on first. And I don't know if any of you can imagine what happened when I did that. My hand ran through that paint at least 3 times, so I knew that was not a good idea. So I'm going to put that on last. And so I think as I'm looking at this, I don't know if that same, I used the L11, but I also walked a row of Tuscan Red around it. So I think because I'm so close, I might go down to the K10.5, the 6.5 millimeter. And these are just some of the choices that you have to make as you're painting along about how much space you have and, you know, how you want the overall piece to look. All right, I'm going to put some more paint out though. And this is the coffee bean. And I'm going to go to the chat and see if everyone's keeping up or if we need to slow down. So how is everyone doing? Everyone keeping up okay? Oh, Pam, you're running just a little bit behind? A little bit behind. Okay. So I see a question about which set 11, but that was not the one I used. Which one now? For which piece was that, Randy? Oh, is this for the border that you're talking about? Oh, you know what? For the outside brown dots, I did use the 11. But I think I think that there were a couple of, because I think this design actually on the second one that I'm doing is larger than the first one. So what I think happened, I think I switched them out. But this is the 11 that I used on the outside there on these big ones, but they are a little bit big, I think. So, I mean, it fits on there, but I'm going to adjust now at the top a little bit to compensate for that. So I'm going to go, I think I'm going to use the, get some paint out here. I'm going to use the K 10.5, 6.5 millimeter to do my dots. Now, when you're putting your border on, you kind of have to decide where you want to start. I actually started when I did my border, I started right here in the center of the cup and then went each way around so that I could get, kind of I want it to end right about here. You could start there. You can do it whichever way you want. Start there and go around. Just for symmetry, I started in the middle here. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Well, actually, you know what? I'm going to start here because since my size was a little bit different, let's just start right above here. And I'm going to move up a little bit because I want to put a Tuscan Red. So I'm going to go right like that. And then what I have to do is leave enough space so that I can walk the dots around that. So this is just by eyeball. There's no precision to this. So let me see if I can show you how. Um, I'm just going to sort of move over like about that much. And then I'm going to try to keep that same distance all the way around. And you could finish it all the way around if you wanted to. I'm just going to keep moving this around. And I'm going to start being a little bit careful because I'm going to start to I don't want to get my paint. This is where if we weren't doing the dot along, excuse me, I would probably let this piece dry before I moved on to this section. So I didn't because as I rotate that glass, the cup, how that could possibly drop onto my table and disrupt all the work I just did. So if I were doing this in just a regular in my studio, I would let that dry before I moved on. So we're just going to have to be a little bit careful not to drop it or disturb that paint. And now I'm just holding it up so I don't touch that. Actually, I think I'm going to go all the way around on this one. I can get fit 2 in there comfortably. Okay, so there's my dots. Now, in my original one, I just did the one mandala on this front, just choose a side, but it would be nice to have it on the back or to maybe even have a little element there. It just depends on how much you want to, you know, how much design and pattern you want to have on the cup. Now I'm going to go around, I'm going to use sort of this medium one again, just given how much space I have. And this is with the Tuscan Red. And we're just going to walk the dots around each one of those. Oops. Well, I got a little bit of mess up there, guys. I got my hand in the paint. So let me get that off. And we just take it off with a Q-tip. I think you can see it. See how I kind of smeared that? The thing about correcting one of these mistakes is you take your Q-tip, it's wet, it's damp, it's not soppy wet. And you want to go from the outside and roll it in and roll the Q-tip to get as much of that paint off as you can. And then you can go back in and get the rest of it off. There. And that's why I say I think, you definitely, if you do another one of these, you want to let as much of it dry as you can. We might not have avoided this one because we're doing the border, but there. That looks pretty good. Pretty good correction. All right, now let's see if we can do that without messing up the paint. Just choose a starting spot and we'll walk the dots around. This will be a little bit, it's obviously repetitive, but it's so satisfying when it's complete. And I don't know how many of you use your artwork for sort of meditative or, you know, stress relief. I do, and that's why I like this form of artwork because it is very repetitive, and there's some beauty in that and some serenity. Keep wiping your tool off to keep that paint from building up. That's coming out pretty nicely, I think. So that's coming along. I think if you, you know, when you can kind of another design choice about how much of a border you might want to put on. I kind of like the fact that it goes all the way around. I think that's makes it interesting, but you certainly wouldn't have to do that if you didn't want to. I tend to get a little bit quiet, you guys, when I paint. I don't know how you are, but I, I'm usually in the studio by myself. My husband is a musician, and so our studios are in the basement, and so he's got one end and I've got the other, and we don't really talk to each other when we're down working on our projects. So it gets kind of quiet until the granddaughter's over, of course. We have a little granddaughter. She's the sweetest ever, but she's loud. She's almost 3, and I was noticing how loud she's gotten. There's a lot of screeching that goes on. And this is my last one. Okay. Okay. So a little bit of an adjustment for size. And so you can kind of, if you're going to do another one, decide what you thought about the sizing. Excuse me, and change that up if you wanted. I'm going to go look at the chat for just a moment, see if y'all have any questions or any comments. I'm going to let this dry. I am going to put the top dots on. Normally, of course, I would let this paint set and let it dry completely before I put anything else on it, but I'd like you to see that, and it really, so, keep in mind how it's looking right now, and then when we put the top dots on, I really think that's when the whole piece just really pops. Hey, Stephanie, I see that you dropped in. I'm so glad to see you. Thanks for joining. These are fun, aren't they? Hey, Jill, I saw that you used your blow dryer. Oh, Jill, did you have trouble seeing? I got to figure out how to use my tools better because I'm not entirely sure how to zoom in. But was that a little bit too far away? Yeah, Stephanie, I need a little bit more practice on the lives. I finally figured out how to find the link, but actually that's because Lindsay Wyrick, the Frugal Crafter, helped me figure out how to find the link that I could send out and put in my on the Facebook. And so I was able to at least get that part figured out. Now I got to figure out how to zoom in, Jill. Figure out how to zoom in and uh, maybe get 2 windows up so I can see the chat side by side and not have to keep going back and forth. But these are so much fun to do, and I'm so glad you guys have joined. It's thrilling. It's really fun to be able to paint, I think, with a group, right? And so I'm really enjoying that. I am going to go back to now put the top dots on. Oh, I was going to say something about the blow dryer. So I sometimes do that too. I use the blow dryer to help myself along and get that paint set up. Sometimes I notice that it cracks the paint, so be sure that you're using of course, a cool setting so that you don't run the risk of cracking the paint because it dries too fast, because all that's happening is the top is skimming over, and then the underside is still, it takes a little while for the paint to cure all the way through. But I've used the blow dryer too, and I think that's a great way to go about getting, moving it along and getting it set up enough that you can continue working a little bit more easily. Okay, let's do the top dots. And of course, like we do usually, just go down a size or 2 in the tools. And so I'm actually going to use the G6 4mm. Let me look at my K. See what I think about that. I think that's a little bit big. So I'm gonna use the blue, and I'm going to just the only, color that I'm gonna use for top dotting is the blue. And you could, of course, add as many layers as you wanted to put to put more depth and interest in the piece. But I kinda like the blue. The blue stands out so nicely on this that I thought that was enough. I didn't feel like I needed to add anything more, but if you want to add some additional layers, I think that would be beautiful. So, I'm just gonna go ahead and start adding my top dots, and we'll just drop that paint on. So I'll bring it up so you can see better. And then we'll just go around and drop it in. See, isn't that beautiful how that just pops? I love that on the brown. It's sometimes a leap of faith to get these top dots on, especially when you're using a surface like this, so I'm kind of resting my finger on the edge here to stabilize it a little bit, and then I just gotta take the leap and do it. I think the addition of the top dots just really elevates this whole thing. Really, I think finishes it well. Okay, and now I'm just gonna put a few on the border so we can see how it looks, 'cause I want that paint to set up a little bit more. Okay, we would, of course, go all the way around. Isn't that pretty the way the top dots just bounce right off of the glass? I just love it. I think they look so great. That's a really nice color combination. I love that. Okay, and so to finish up, we would just, of course, finish that all the way around the border. And then here's what it looked like in our inspiration piece. Gorgeous. And again, a whole set of these would just be fabulous. Wouldn't you love to be drinking your coffee out of those? It was so much fun. Okay, I'm gonna look at the chat for just a moment and see how everybody's doing because we're basically, whoops, I think at the pretty much at the end, unless anyone has any questions. Oh, so you're gonna do yours tomorrow, your top dots tomorrow? Yeah, I think it's best to let the paint dry, but I really like, being able to show that a little bit, so that people can see what that might look like, especially with the color combinations. All right, I'm gonna come back up then. I'm gonna give you one last look at this, and then I'm gonna come up and say goodbye. So there's the final piece. So pretty and simple, right? It's a really simple pattern. So, beginners who want to have a nice, you know, final product, that they would, I think, do really nicely with this particular one. All right, let me pull the camera up and say goodbye. Okay, thanks, you guys. Hey, I really appreciated you joining. Let me know what you think about the lives. If you want to do more, I've got the Facebook group, so consider that if you're interested in mandala dot painting. I am going to branch out into some other mandala type designs because I kind of like the mixed media look too. So I think I'm going to try some things like that and see how the group responds. But mostly we're kind of focused on mandala dot painting or dot painting. And we have a great group. It's growing all the time and sharing, lots of sharing tips, tons of tips that are coming in on how to, mark canvases and what tools people are using that they really like. So I hope you think about joining the group. And I want to say goodbye to everybody. Thanks so much for joining. I really appreciated it. I love working with you all and doing our live painting together. So thanks again, and you all take care. Bye-bye.